doing this, and the night before, like last night, was the verses.
It was absolutely bananas.
You were there.
I was there, and it was one of the loudest things I've been to in a while. Like I really had to. I took my do-rag with me. I had my Timbs on. You know what I'm saying? I was wearing my Kobe jersey. I had to feel that moment of that gritty early 2000s.
Yeah.
And I mean, I was outside. So I was outside in the early 2000s. So being in that whole mix and blend, I mean, there's clearly a lot of people that's still outside up in there. You know what I'm saying? Like that was the vibe. Like, don't get it twisted. Like the hood was out. Like every borough was represented. Like the big hustlers, the hustlers was out there. Everybody was out there. The chains was on. Like people were showing out. It was, but it was beautiful. Like you know, like we said with Just How Bevy, it was a beautiful thing seeing everybody in that room. Yeah. And there were no fights. There were no ignorant stuff going on. Everybody was just 100% hip hop head. Even before, it's kind of funny. I don't know the DJ's name who was spinning, but he was on the lock side before the whole thing started. The hour and a half that he was running, it was Tech. Yes, it was Tech.
He DJs for Jada, the Locks. When I met him, he DJ'd for Mano as well.
Was he Rough Riders Tech? I don't know.
I'm not 100% sure, but I know he DJs for like Ghostface. He DJs for for alignment.
But,
you know what I'm saying? DJs
for the sturdy.
For the sturdy.
but when I say New York was being New York, the second he tried to take the tracks down south, people would start booing. Like, no, put on that. Yeah, it's not tonight.
It's a New York
This
night,
is real gritty. He played some Siegel and that was permitted. Philly
we'll allow it.
Yes, that's all East Coast flow, East Coast rap.
We'll allow it. Tri-state.
Yes, Tri-state. Yeah, but when I say it was New York City, New York City mouthing word for word, every person in that building was mouthing word for word any song that came on that was from New York City. Come on. It was insane.
That's a beautiful thing.
Insane.
That's a beautiful thing. Harlem was in the building.
Harlem's Harlem, yo.
Uptown was in the building.
Uptown was in the building. Like I never seen so many people mouth Jewel's verses like that before, like word for word.
And that was the thing I said last night as well. I'm watching it with friends, and I was just like, I mean, if I'm gonna vote for anybody, if I'm gonna go with a side, it was the Locks for me.
Oh nah, it was a landslide.
And it was before the verse even started. I said
I was going Dipset. For me.
Really? And that's the thing, because if you're from Harlem and you're also a Dipset representative, you know the mixtapes, you know everybody's body, you know everybody's catalog of work and stuff like that or whatever, because a lot of it isn't radio or mainstream or sellable albums. A lot of it is mixtapes out the trunks.
Yeah.
So, you know, I was like, I feel like Dipset might have it because there's that cult-esque.
Oh yes, there was that was a whole cult following.
Right, there's a cult-like following with Dipset, but I was like, you know what? I know the Locks, so
they got joints. Too many joints. And granted, I'd say Dipset has more of their own music that they curated that's big. But when it comes to the Locks, they were on a ton of features, but those features were so heavy.
They were solid in the hood. They were aligned.
Sturdy.
They were sturdy. They were aligned in these streets.
Yes.
I wasn't Bad Boy Street Team. I worked the Locks. You know what I'm saying? Like they was aligned.
Yes.
With the streets. But that's the beauty of Uptown. That's the beauty of Harlem and Yonkers, and like, we from Brooklyn.
Yeah,
the both of us are from Brooklyn.
Yes,
but
we appreciated that.
When you go uptown, it's another world within New York. Style, energy, fashion, the music. They stay true to who they are.
Yes,
and you know, it's even evident in the guests that we have.
Yes.
Today.
Yes.
Bevy Smith.
She is Harlem.
She is Harlem.
And she came up with a lot of these people.
Right.
And she's become in the clubs. She was right. Them. They was popping bottles and giving her hit, yo, you want a glass of Bevy?
Stories for days.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to speak with her and see like what Bevy Smith's journey from the brown Harlem girl to this
Bevelations.
Lifestyle mogul.
Yes. It's more than fashion. It's more than fashion.
It's a lifestyle.
And it's incredible to be able to take whatever you're good at and turn it into other things.
Right.
And that's hard. That's very difficult to do because people try to change things and they potentially fail.
Right.
Right. And I always got to bring it back. Like, we got to think about dancer dope. Right.
Yeah.
And you even just, all right, cool, I'm a DJ now. And taking off with that, that's hard. Mm-hmm. People don't understand it. So, that's why we're going to keep giving you all these stories, though. So y'all understand it.
Understand alignment and how it works. I must keep saying this word because it just something as simple as let's do the math. Let's do the science.
Yeah.
Harlem, Uptown. We're talking about the verses. We're talking about how these aligned hood people,
yes,
aligned hood niggas,
yes,
took their lifestyle and turned it into branding, turned
yes,
it into music that's
yes,
timeless now.
Yes.
And same thing with Bevy. Brown Harlem girl took the lifestyle that she
everything
saw,
she knew, everything around her,
the knowledge that she learned, business, and she's turning
melded it together,
melded it all together, and turned it into a lifestyle alignment because she knew she got to stick with it.
And there's a certain level of just intelligence and gifting that comes with that. Yeah. It's just yeah. So we're gonna get into it. Yeah, because I think she's gonna drop a lot of gems.
Oh, I feel it. I feel
there's too much richness behind her.
Exactly.
For us to not hear some gems today.
Right.
Let's
get to it.
It's Blue Dope.
Hey. I just want to get right to it, because we've had this conversation before. My first introduction to you was my model is better than your model.
Better than your model.
Yes, on BT Jazz.
That's right.
Yeah, so I wanted to ask, how did Bevy Smith, the fashion mogul, how did the birth of that come about?
Well, in my book, Bevelations, Lessons from a Mother, Auntie, Bestie, I detail my entire career trajectory. And I really did write the book. That's a shameless plug, but I really did write the book because so many people would see me on social media or see me on TV and hear little bits and pieces about my background from being a fashion advertising director at Vibe and at Rolling Stone. And they would always be like, but how did you make that transition? Because even though I was working in media, i.e. at magazines, I was not an editor and I was not ever on camera. And it's really not as easy of a transition as many people believe it was for me to be able to go from one space into a totally different one. And the way I made that transition was that I really just kind of decided to take my life and my trajectory into my own hands. And I will tell you this, Olivia, because, I'm such a fan of yours and I'm so very proud of the way that you live your life with such integrity, the way you're constantly fighting the good fight, being a mother, being a dope ass chick, you wear so many hats. And, now just recently being the face of, a woman who is like, I've had enough and I'm not going to take it anymore. It made me so very proud of you. But, for me and my career, it took me, I was 38 years old. And I was like, I've had enough. I'm not going to take it anymore. So when I see you moving the way you move, I'm like, yeah, that's the reason why all of us ladies from that era, like a June Ambrose, a Michaela Angela Davis, and Misa Hilton, and all that, that's the reason why we did the work that we did, so that you have the opportunity to say that you give us free and to take your freedom much sooner than we even ever could have fathomed.
Right.
And so I'm just really, really proud of you. And the way I was able to do it was like really doing the hardcore introspective work. And, it doesn't come easy, as you know. There's a very heavy price to pay mentally, oftentimes physically, certainly financially.
Right.
But, once you get through that, you come out on the other side and then all of a sudden you're living this, what I call a life with vision. And you're doing work that really fulfills you. And all of a sudden it seems like, oh wow, am I really manifesting these things that I once only thought of as dreams? And It's a beautiful place to live in.
Right. I love it. I love it. So with that being said, we want to get down to like some nitty gritty, because I know it's in the book, like a lot of fun stories, a lot of background, a lot of tidbits inside of the 90s clubs, especially because that's where I want to go. Can you give us a little, not everything, but can you give us
no, I can't.
You can't at all.
Well, I mean, I can give you a little more than what I gave in the book, but I made a real conscious decision to not make this book as salacious as I could have, because the golden age of hip hop, which is really the 90s, I think everyone would agree the 90s was the golden age of hip hop.
Absolutely.
It was so much going on. Yes, there was misogyny. Yes, there was homophobia. Yes, there were, it was people, just kind of recovering off of the crack epidemic. Yes, there was still, the AIDS epidemic was still raging. There was so much negative stuff happening, but also there was a lot of beauty and a lot of glory in the 90s hip hop scene. And the people that I was able to connect with. In my book, I do talk about my friendship with Tupac, because in the book, I talk about being Little Brown Bevy and leaving her to the side once I became a hip hop hottie. Like once I became on the scene, hot chick, like what would be a modern day, IG model, the equivalent, all access in every room, at every club, getting every bottle. Of course, I know all the ones to know, but more importantly, they know me.
Right.
That was my life. But I had a whole other false persona going on. That wasn't even really who I was at my core. And it was when I hung out with Tupac, I was able to go back and reclaim Little Brown Bevy. And he and I would step away and we would talk about philosophy, and we would talk about Black power, and we would just talk about books that we were reading, and it was weird because he was like, Tupac, Thug Life, all the moments, this is the era in which I was hanging out with Pac, and he would be Tupac Amaru Shakur, like he would be the kind, sensitive, the guy who wrote A Rose Grows from Concrete, you know what I mean, like. He would be the guy who wrote Dear Mama. Right. He would be the guy that wrote Brenda's Got a Baby. You know what I mean? And I saw another side of him. He saw another side of me.
Wow.
And then, that would go away and we would resume our regularly scheduled shenanigans of him being Thug Life and me being a hip hop hottie. And then me being like, where the dollars at? I'm saying, come on, buy my girls and me some champagne. Stop playing with me. You better run them pockets.
So you was having hot girl summers. You was a city girl and all that.
Oh yeah. Ain't nothing new under the sun.
Right.
Shoot.
That part.
A hot girl summer been around since, I would probably say since, the 1920s, and Ma Rainey and Bevy Smith and all those ladies singing about, give me a pig feed, a bottle of gin, and if I can't sell it, I'ma sit on it. I ain't just gonna give it away. All of these things. There's nothing new under the sun when it comes to that. You know what I mean? But like, we feel like, oh my God, it's a hot girl summer. I'm a city girl. Yeah, okay. Your mama and them was that too.
Right. Your grandmama them.
Your great grandmama and them was that too.
And let's be clear, you're from Harlem.
Yes.
Harlem in the house.
Harlem in the house. You already know I was so done and through and just, I'm exhausted right now behind the verses. So
I was about to say, y'all took an L last night.
Well, we didn't. Okay, let me explain to you why we didn't take an L.
Okay.
Let me just explain to you why we did not take an L.
All right.
The reason why we did not take an L is because Jada is Rough Riders.
Yes.
DMY, the owners of Rough Riders, Swizz's uncles.
Yes.
they had a very large stake in Harlem during the era.
Yes.
So I met Jada before he was signed in front of the Mart 125. That used to be like this swap meet on 125th Street.
Right.
So Jada is very much Harlem as well.
Wow.
Jada is a very Harlem, and I dare say, if you ask him, he would say, "Oh, certainly." That's the reason why, if you think about it, think about where they say they're from. They're from Uptown.
Yes.
You know what I mean? That's the reason why the Bronx is Uptown. We kind of all merged together. It's like Harlem, Washington Heights, the Bronx, Mount Vernon, Yonkers. You know, we kind of all merged together. So we didn't take an L. New York won.
True.
New York hip hop won last night. Plain and simple. But if you got to pick which group did the work, well, clearly, it was the Lox.
Some work was done.
It was the juice bar owners versus the
green juice men.
Versus the gentleman that's selling a sex tonic.
I mean, how important do you feel like Harlem was with your upbringing and even just crossing over to fashion? I mean, Harlem has always been rich in its own sense when it came to fashion and hip hop. So just on the fashion side of it and you being at Vibe, how impactful was it for you to grow up in that?
I love that question because you're so spot on. To be from Harlem automatically means that you're going to be inherently stylish. Yes. You know, when you see A$AP Rocky gracing the cover of GQ, when you see the iconic photo of Cam in the pink, you know, these things are not mistakes. Right. These are not flukes. This is a part of their DNA. This is their cultural legacy that goes all the way back to when Black people first moved into Harlem in the 1920s and it became a Black community. And you look at the James Van Der Zee photos from the Harlem Renaissance, and you see the raccoon coats and on the car, and you see the photos of the fraternities on Strava's Row. Mm-hmm. You see this legacy. So there's a through line, right? Yes. And so for me, I always knew that where I was from was special. I always knew where I was from was a cultural legacy for the world. And so when I had to go into the all white environments of luxury fashion, because even though streetwear was huge when I was working at Vibe, that's not what I was covering. Wow. I worked on luxury. So I was in Milan and Paris doing that work. And I was trying to make the Europeans understand that we were consumers of that fashion as well. Right. We weren't just wearing the Fubus and the Nietzsche's and things like that. Of course we were, but we were also incorporating Dior or, right. Prada or Gucci or what have you into it. I mean, that's the part that makes us so fabulous is that we do the mix. We know the high and the low before it was even a thing. Right. And so Harlem, I take it with me on my back. You know what I mean? It's like, it's my backpack at all times. And so when I went over to Europe, I certainly took that cultural sensibility with me. And I took photos from Harlem to show them how we were wearing their clothes. And it even, in front of the graffiti filled, storefront, you know what I mean? I just wanted them to see how we wore it and the grit and texture in which it was being worn.
And that aesthetic is so standard today now to have that grit behind luxury.
Yes.
That's the norm now.
Yes. Well, now they've monetized it, right? They've gentrified it.
Yes.
But it was just what we did back then. It wasn't about. We knew it was fly, but we didn't know it could be commodified. And it was then when I got to Vibe is that I started to understand. Oh, this is a commodifiable. This can make us money. Okay, our sense of style, the way we flip things. Oh, this is a real thing. This is a part of the culture. I posted a couple of throwback posts today on Instagram because I was just watching that Versus just got me so hyped, Blue, because I was just like, oh my God, I had kind of forgotten how much fun I had being outside. Because I'm like so elder stateswoman. I'm like, I'm on like a tour telling people how to live their best life, a life with vision, you know, dreaming and be it and all of that kind of stuff. I kind of forgot.
I get ratchet for a second once in a while.
I forgot my ratchet most, you know. Oh, it's a shootout at the club. I'm still going. So
yes.
Forgot that part.
Right.
I was in the Garden last night. It was absolutely insane. All of New York City was out there. The hood was out there. Like it was beautiful, and everyone.
It was beautiful, right?
Everyone.
I love that you said.
It was beautiful. Yeah. Like the energy was just ecstatic. So I had that same vibe that you're saying, right? It's like you remember that late 90s era and just they started off with like Rough Rider tracks, right? They started off with the early joints. You know, it was definitely Uptown.
Yes, exactly. It was Uptown.
But needless to say, so going back to Uptown, how does a girl from Harlem end up even getting into Vibe? Like, did you have to go to school? Like, you know, what was that process for you? How did you kind of sneak in there and go to the top?
Oh, no. The Vibe was, I got the Vibe, I was grown. I was like 28 or 29 when I got that job. So I'd already established myself in fashion. So the Vibe job was not, I didn't have to, they selected me.
They
got it.
You understand, darling? I wasn't trying to get in the Vibe, but they called my phone.
They're like, we need you.
My friend Emil Wilbekin, who at that time was a fashion director of Vibe, and my friend Mimi Valdez, who at that time might have been just an editor at large at Vibe, but both of them went on to become editors-in-chief of Vibe magazine. Mimi, of course, is now Pharrell's producing partner in film. Emil Wilbekin has a Native Son movement, which is a movement for Black gay men. I mean, so this is the pedigree of friendships that I have, and so we all came up together. Wow. And there was an opening at Vibe for the fashion, and was at that time just a fashion director, and they called me and they were like, "Will you come in?" And I was like, "I don't know." I had worked in general market, i.e., white advertising, since I was 18 years old, and so, and you guys may not know this because it's such a different time now, but when I was a young person, if you were able to break into mainstream fashion or advertising or any of that, it was a space to hold on to because there were so few of us in the space.
Yes.
So it was a big deal that I was working on Bill Blast directly with Mr. Blast and working on Shiseido Cosmetics and going to Europe for the shows and all that. So it's like a big deal. I'm a 20-something-year-old Black girl from Harlem, from 150th Street in Harlem. You know what I mean? I'm not Harlem light, like 111th, and
you in the middle.
But I'm like really Harlem. And so
Harlem.
It was,
on the hill.
It was a big deal. Yeah. No. I'm the Valley girl. I'm from the Avenue.
Okay.
No.
No, not
there.
Okay.
That's more Spanish and stuff. That's Dominican. I'm firmly Black Harlem. So the important distinction to make.
Right.
Of course, we always used to go uptown because as you listen to all the 90s hip hop songs, all the guys used to go up the hill to re-up, if you know what I mean.
Right.
Yes.
So, of course, we would always go up the hill and everything, see our boyfriends or whatever. You know, anyway, I'm telling too much. See, the Lux got me too much in that headspace. You know what I mean? Now I'm talking about, we know Grammys. All you know is Grammys.
Chick.
And Jada said, we know Grammys. All y'all know is Grams. I fell out.
He was so valid on that. He was so valid. But anyway, so I'm at this advertising agency. I'm the only Black person. I'm doing incredibly well. And then I figure out that I'm not really that happy doing it anymore. And my mentor, who was a white gay man, had I actually had 4 white mentors. I talk about them in the book. Mm-hmm. But they gave me so much, including they gave me the confidence to know that what they had taught me and what they had shown me was enough for me to go out and stake my own claim in the world. And so one of the things I always point out to people, a really good mentor gives you the tools to fly on your own. A bad mentor is one of the people that want to keep you under their wing. Right. You're always sunning you. You know what I mean? Come through. This is my little protege.
Right.
Sir, I'm 40 years old. I am not your little nothing. You know how some people that call themselves your mentors will try and keep you in that space forever?
Yeah.
And it's like, I know you gave me my first job. That's great. But now I'm a senior vice president at ... So can we move on from that narrative?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So anyway, my mentors gave me, all the space to grow. And when I decided to take leave and fly the coop, they gave me their blessings and they gave me even more of the Rolodex and said, and if you ever need anything, you can always come back home and get all the information, get all the connects, whatever it is that you need. So I was milling about, and then that's when I got the call from Vibe magazine. And so when I went there, no one believed that I was going to be able to break European fashion brands because the person who had the job prior to me was actually a white man, a white gay man. So that should have been his sweet spot, right? Mm-hmm. If anybody could go to Europe and go to Gucci and Prada and Dior and all this and have a conversation with them, it should have been him because he was of that ilk. Mm. The problem was he was not of our ilk. Mm. So he could go forward and talk about Vibe magazine from a very kind of technical and clinical point of view. He could go through with all the research, which I could as well because I had been groomed and I had been educated correctly at the white advertising agency. So I knew how to read all the numbers. Mm-hmm. I knew how to do the statistics and all that kind of stuff. But I also knew the streets.
Yes.
And I also knew my culture.
Yes.
And so you put those two together. And that's how I broke all that business at Vibe.
Nice. Best of both worlds.
Best of both worlds. I didn't shy away from it. And so when I would go over to Europe, they would always be like, where are you from? Where are you from? You're so fabulous. And I'd be like, I'm from Harlem. And the reason why that's an important thing to note is because for your listeners that are maybe not from New York City, it's important to know that Harlem is a part of Manhattan. Manhattan is the epicenter of the world.
Yes.
So I could have easily said I'm from Manhattan, and it would not have been a lie. But I thought it was important for them to understand that I'm from a place that you people probably maligned, that you probably would be afraid to venture forth to. Right. And I thought it was important to let them see that someone as cultured, as intelligent, as articulate, and someone that's business savvy as myself came from that place.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's how we did it, Blue. So it wasn't that, it wasn't like, oh, please Vibe hire me. And then when I went to Rolling Stone magazine, that was a really big deal.
Yeah.
And Rolling Stone called me. So,
And in that era that you worked at Rolling Stone was still
Rolling Stone.
Right. That publication, pages and pages, covers, iconic covers. Yeah. So, wow.
Yeah. I was the only black person there. And in management, I was the only woman on the sales team. And when I came there, the guys who worked in the same kind of positions they tried to razz me. They tried to what's that called, baby? Haze me. You know what I mean? They were like, what'd you hire her for? She doesn't really fit in. I'll never forget the second Vibe Awards where who got stabbed or something at the second Vibe Awards? It was something with 50 or something. Remember? Y'all too young to remember. But some kind of violence happened at the second. Some kind of violence happened at the second Vibe Awards. And
this is when 50 had the Everyone Rapper, that song. Is it How to Rob?
No, he was a star by now.
Okay.
So that was a mixtape. That was How to Rob a Rapper was his mixtape.
Yeah.
But he was a star by now. But anyway, there was some violence that took place at the Vibe Awards. And I'll never forget my publisher coming up to me and saying, oh, aren't you glad you don't work there? Ooh, I mean, that must have been a really dangerous place. And I was just like, well, one, it's not a dangerous place. Two, stuff happens. Three, get out my face.
Right. The tunnel.
Yeah, exactly. But, it was just like one of those things where, they really didn't understand how significant our culture would become to pop culture. Because as we all know now, Black culture is pop culture. Yes. Hands down, you got nothing without us. There's not a TikTok to be found. There's no social media without us.
Right.
There's no music without us. So good luck and God bless on all of that.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask whether it was between Vibe, Rolling Stone, what were your top 3 favorite projects, whether it was a cover shoot or just feature that you were part of?
Well, when I was at Vibe the first time, I was in ad sales. So I was in the business side, not in the editorial side.
Got it.
And then I went to Vibe again as an editor at large. And that was phenomenal. And then the Rolling Stone, I was again on the business side. I was where the money resides.
Yes.
Which is a very important space. And a space where we're still not really fully represented. Because see, when you're an editor, it looks cute, but if you're shaping edit, but you don't make any money. And those who bring in the money have a say on how things go. Right. And so now when you look at these business entities, these magazines, you'll see a lot of us in the edit staff, which was not the case before, which is great. But you don't see a lot of us on the business side, which is not so great. Because I would rather us do both. You know what I mean? Because we need to be a part of the art and a part of the commerce.
I'm asking this way though. Then, what was your biggest deal that you were involved in at that point, where you were success that you could talk about?
Not my biggest deal, but my favorite deal.
Okay.
So I was pitching Prada. Now Prada, and even still to this day, Prada is very white, right? Mm-hmm. And it feels almost like, okay, what's going on here? Like. You know, it feels a little, I'm not going to say it feels Aryan, but I'm going to say it feels very aggressively white. Yes. Right? But as you know, we wore and still do wear a lot of Prada. So anyone that we were spending money with in the culture, I was like, well, they need to be spending money with the culture.
Facts.
So I went to see them, and a dear friend of mine, someone who I actually, when I left the white advertising agency that I worked at, I hired him to be my replacement. Wow. And then 6 years later, he's at Prada handling the marketing and advertising, and I'm at Vibe. So I get the meeting, of course, because he's one of mine, you know what I mean? The young white man, he's one of my babies, you know what I mean? He loved me, I love him. He takes the meeting. I come in with my lookbook of all my street style photos of all the people, and this time I do it just for Prada. I curate a whole lookbook of probably about 30 shots of folks in the hood wearing Prada, or folks that at our parties, Vibe parties, wearing Prada. He's like, wow, this is incredible. He's like, I'm going to send it. Can I send this to Italy? We want to send this to Mutha Prada, the owner, the designer. I'm like, okay, well, this is old timey. There's nothing, there's no clouds.
You physically sending the book.
This is literally photos that I took with a disposable camera, had printed and put in a book.
Wow.
So I'm like, if you lose this, if I don't get this back, it's going. That's it. So he's like, I promise you'll get it back. He sends it over. And then he gives me a call like a couple of days later. He's like, not only we're going to give you the business, we're giving you 10 pages in the September issue. So when you open up that September issue of that Vibe, which was probably like 2002 or something crazy, the first 10 pages all Prada.
Wow.
Sexy.
Boom. Nice.
Yeah, I got a really good bonus on that one.
Nice.
Bonus, yeah. Nice. Yeah, so I have a lot of magical moments like that. Tom Ford, when he was at Gucci, he's the one who gave me my first luxury business.
Wow.
Tom Ford always had a real affinity for the culture. You know who else had a lot of affinity for the culture? Giorgio Armani.
Really?
Giorgio Armani flew the Fugees over in the 90s to perform at an event.
Wow.
Really? Armani was very big into music.
Nice.
And black music.
Nice.
Donatella Versace had Tupac over in the 90s through Vibe.
Yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's so much legacy work and history that goes behind a lot of the things that you now take for granted.
Exactly.
Right.
1000%.
Right. Yeah. When we were doing it, it wasn't a lot of us. And we were doing it on our own, and we were figuring it out. We were young people, but we loved the culture. And thankfully, Vibe was such a powerful entity at the point, and they had, thanks to people like me who were selling ad space, we had the money and the wherewithal to really kind of invest.
So let's fast forward a little bit to Fashion Queens.
Yes.
Actually, one of my favorite shows to watch on Sundays.
Thank you.
Not just saying that because it's you, but yeah, I do. How did that come about with Andy? And was it your idea? Was this your brain? No.
Okay. It was not my idea. No. I was done with fashion. When I quit Rolling Stone.
I realized that around that time. Okay, go ahead.
When I quit Rolling Stone to do TV, I was like, I'm done with fashion. And then I realized that being a Black girl with the kind of fashion relationships that I had made me valuable on TV because one of these things was not like the other.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, I could really speak to luxury fashion in a way that most Black people couldn't because not many of us were let into the space. Right. It's not because we couldn't, it's because they didn't let us in. I got blessed and lucky, from going back to those white mentors that pushed me through to then being at Vibe at the perfect time and then going to Rolling Stone. That just set me up real lovely. So I had all this really great kind of pedigree. So I realized that, if I want to get on TV, I can actually get on TV if I talk about fashion. I didn't want to talk about fashion, but I was like, okay, fine. So I started doing all this VH1 stuff and BET stuff and all this stuff, right? And then I get a call from someone who worked at another magazine who was in like Fire Island or something with Andy Cohen. Before Andy Cohen was a TV person, he was a TV executive only.
Right.
He was not doing TV. So he's like, my friend Andy Cohen, he's going to be doing the Tim Gunn show, and he's looking for someone to play opposite Tim Gunn on this new show. I'll put your name in the hat because I know you want to do TV. So that's another lesson learned. I let everyone know when I quit Rolling Stone magazine, I let them know I was quitting to do television.
Wow.
And a lot of times people say, be careful who you tell your dreams because they can, for me, the way it's worked out for me.
Cut you up.
I tell everyone. In my book, I told everyone from the security guard to my 7-year-old nephew. So listen, this is what I'm trying to do. You know what I mean? That was like, because you never know where the blessing is going to come from. Right. And sure enough, this guy who had nothing to do with TV just happened to be hanging out with Andy Cohen on Fire Island, tells Andy about me. I get a call to audition. I go and audition on a Tuesday. By Thursday, I've got a contract.
Nice.
The contract is horrible because I'm a businesswoman. Even though now I'm doing TV, I'm looking at the contract. I'm like, this looks like a horrible contract.
Crazy. They tried to give you a 360 deal.
They tried to give me a 360 deal. They literally did, Blue. You laughing, but they literally tried to give me a 360 deal.
Wow.
So I was like, well, this is not going to work. And I remember my lawyer said, well, we don't have a choice. I said, well, we always have a choice. We can just walk away.
Yeah.
Right.
So we walked away. But then Andy called me and was like, I would love for you to meet with me and my boss, a wonderful woman named Amy Introcaso Davis. And I went in and I made sure I looked like fashion. I was dripping in labels, child. It was a mess. And Andy says, you're even better in real life than you were on tape.
Nice.
He said, one day we're going to work together. And for 7 years, Andy Cohen called me and cast me in different pilots he was doing, different shows, all kinds of stuff. And then one day he had me bartend on Watch What Happens Live.
I remember that.
Which I was not supposed to do because I was under contract to BET. I had a holding deal, a production deal with BET. And when you have a holding deal, you're not supposed to do anything else.
Right.
But I was like, ain't nobody from BET gonna be watching Watch What Happens. This was like so long ago. This was like, I think maybe 2010 or something, 11.
And nobody was really watching Bravo like that.
No, not black people.
No, the black folks wasn't really watching Bravo like that.
So I take a chance. I do the bartending. When I get off the stage, Andy is like, oh my gosh, you were incredible. I have something for you. I want to do this show around fashion, and it's with, do you know Miss Lawrence and Derek J from Real Housewives of Atlanta? I'm like, well, I mentored Derek J, right. And I don't know Miss Lawrence, but what is it? And he tells me, I'm like, okay. And I don't want to do it. And I'm not excited. But at a point, guys, here's the thing. At a point, I had been working my ass off for like 7 years to try and get a TV show. And then someone is offering me a show on a major cable network.
Yeah.
Yeah, you should probably take that.
Yeah, you got to do that.
Yeah, you should probably take it. And then, of course, it turned out to be to this day, the best job I've ever had on television.
Yeah.
Wow.
The best job I've ever had on television. Not just in front of the camera, but behind the scenes, all of it.
Really?
The best job I've ever had.
I gotta ask though, like, what kind of TV show did you want originally when you were thinking TV?
That's a good question. Yeah.
Like, did you want a sitcom? Like, what were you thinking?
No. Well, initially I did want to act, and then I put that away because I was such a good host. I just didn't want to talk about fashion. I was like, oh, a pop culture show, I was like pop culture or something like The View. I don't think The Real was out at that time. I don't think The Talk was around then. So something more like that. Kind of more broad thing. Yeah. I was like, fashion.
Here we go again.
Here we go again.
That makes sense though, because you were doing a lot of like talking heads stuff on VH1, I remember. So that makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
The chemistry on Fashion Queens was just so.
And still to this day. The chemistry is bananas. Lil Derry J has now got a new show that he's pitching called Gay Like Me. And it's black queer people having conversations. Miss Lawrence, of course, is now actually going to be on tour with me. We're going to be in Chicago on August 15th for my Life Revision tour.
Yes.
So if anyone's in Chicago, I don't know, when does this air?
This airs like after that.
Yeah. Y'all missed it then. But yeah, but he'll be in Atlanta with me when I'm coming there in September. Hopefully if it's variant, don't act a fool. But yeah, no, the chemistry was always there. The love was always there. The respect. It's never going to end.
Nice.
So what's next on your Bevy Smith vision board? We have Bevelations. It's doing amazing. Is Dinner with Bevy coming back?
So here's the thing. Dinner with Bevy never left. As a matter of fact, this summer...
I just wasn't invited. Okay, cool.
I'm doing Cocktails with Bevy in Martha's Vineyard. I do Cocktails with Bevy every year at Sundance Film Festival, which HBO underwrites. So that's kind of like a spinoff. And I do dinners. I just don't do a lot of them because at this point, I charge so much money. And so if people don't want to pay, it's okay. I don't need to do it.
Right.
Yeah. So, but it's my thing. So anyone that wants to do a dinner with Bevy, any corporation, I don't work for people. Mm-hmm. Any corporation that wants to do a dinner with Bevy and actually has the budget to do it right, we welcome it. In the meantime, in between time, I'm doing my Dining with Bevy Life Revision work, which is my motivational speaking brunch series that I'm taking across the country. And of course, it's centered now around Bevelations, lessons from my mother, Auntie, Bestie. So I'm doing that. Then I also just started acting. Because when Page 6 TV got canceled, which was a nationally syndicated television show.
Right.
For those who don't work in TV, to be on a syndicated TV show is the holy grail of doing TV.
Right.
Because, anyone can see you. It means you're across the country. You don't need a cable box. You don't need anything. Just turn on the TV. And someone who's on a syndicated show, you'll see them.
Right.
It's a really big deal. That's why, Wendy Williams, Tamron Hall, Oprah Winfrey. This is how you make all your money on a syndicated show. So I did a syndicated show called Page 6 TV. It was a bad experience for me. When it ended, when it got canceled, I immediately said to my agents, I don't want to just run into something else like this. I want to take my time and figure out what I want to do next. Because I felt like I'd already proven that I could be a TV host. Because I had done Fashion Queens, which ran multiple seasons. I had done a Page 6 TV that ran multiple seasons. And not a lot of people can say that.
Yeah.
Right.
So I was like, okay, I've done 2 shows where I've been a host and they've run multiple seasons. I got enough tape to prove Bevy Smith is a TV host.
Y'all know my body.
Yes. Y'all know my body. Right. So let me go on to the next. And so I was going to take my time and figure it out. And I started auditioning for acting roles. And right before the country shut down, March 12th, I went on an audition. March 12th, 2020, I went on an audition and I was nervous because the COVID was around.
Yeah.
I didn't know what was going on.
Lockdown was that week.
Yeah. And we shut down on Friday the 13th. And I was like super nervous, but I pushed through and I wrote in my book, I don't know, I know I didn't stink up the joint. I don't know what happened with the project. because obviously everything shut down. But I'm glad I did it. Well, in September of 2020, I got a call from those people saying that they wanted me to come in. They have given me a role on the show. So I am actress Bevy. They gave me 3 lines initially. I did so well, they had me come back. Well, they had me improv. Then I did so well, they had me come back a second day. Then I did so well, they had me come back a third day. Mm-hmm. So hopefully all 3 of my scenes will be capped and won't be on the cutting room floor. And it's a really big deal because it's a very well-respected, writer and showrunner. And there's some really big household names that I'm acting against. This is so exciting to act against real actors.
Nice.
Amazing. So that's what's next for me. Nice. And also too, and I just say this to your listeners and to you guys too. Sometimes you have to be still and you have to let God do his work. Mm-hmm. And I know that we live in a world right now where it feels like the grind, the hustle, that's the thing to do. It is not. That's how you burn out. Mm. That's how you don't have a fulfilled life. That's how you maybe wind up with a lot of stuff and a lot of accolades, and then your real life is empty. Mm. You don't want to do that. You want to have balance. And sometimes you just have to let God do his work. And sometimes that means sitting back, knowing that you've done your work.
Yeah.
And so that people already know. You know, there's that saying, right now, there are people saying your name in rooms that you've never entered. And you have to know that to be so. Yes. You have to trust in that. And that will steady you. Mm. So whatever your goals are, Blue, whatever your goals are, Olivia, you have to know that you're doing the work. You're planting the seeds, you're watering it, you're tending to your garden, and then you have to allow it to blossom, to bloom. But you can't be in there all the time fucking with the soil. Right. You know what I mean? Trying to put steroids up in the, in the mixture to make it grow faster. It doesn't work that way. Just pace yourself, do your good work.
Yes.
And then you have a body of work to stand on. And then other people, believe it or not, they know what you're doing.
Yes.
Right. The streets is always watching, and so are the corporations.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
That was timely. Especially for me. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. And that's also, I've always wanted to say, that's why I truly, honestly respect you, Emil, legendary Damon, who's my mentor.
Yes.
Like when I had my stint, I'm a Brooklyn girl, but I had my stint where I stayed I moved to Harlem specifically because I know that's where the movers and shakers were, especially within TV media.
Yeah.
I knew y'all were out there. Party life, I knew y'all were out there. So when I went out there under the tutelage of legendary Damon and seeing you and him creating your own lane. This is not people that, they are a such and such. People would ask me, what does legendary Damon do? I'm like, do you have 5 minutes?
What legendary Damon does legendary Damon. And there's no way to describe what he is. He is an entity unto himself. He is an impresario.
Right.
He is a throwback to a day when people just kind of created themselves out of thin air.
Right.
He's a gift.
Yes. And he was able to, he allowed me to be introduced to you and so many other amazing people within that space of what you just said. Let God take control and understand your worth and just give your gift to the world and continue to grow and blossom, and it'll grow with you.
It will. And that's why when I saw you the last Sundance, January 2020, and it was your first Sundance and you were working with HBO. Remember how happy I was? And I told you I was so proud of you to see you there because I know what that means to be there in those very, very white spaces.
Yeah.
And for this beautiful brown girl with this verve and this flair and this swagger to have the opportunity to DJ for HBO at Sundance, it really meant something. And I want you to know that kind of thing, it all builds up, baby. That's all. The stats are there. Mm-hmm. You've done so much great work. And I really kind of should probably do a life revision just for creatives like yourselves, entertainment creatives, because real talk, I think a lot of times because we work in these shiny spaces and because we're so, like, the average person is involved in social media, but our lives, I mean, we make money off of social media.
Right.
So we're really very sensitive to what happens on social media and what's being said and the perceptions and things, which can also fuck with our heads, even if we know better, right?
Right.
So I kind of almost feel like I want to do a life revision just for you kind of guys, because I think a lot of times you fall prey to the, well, what's next? And what are you doing right now? And I'm going to tell you something. That's the devil's work.
Right.
Because there is no one who is really an icon, who has status or any of it, that didn't have a moment where they were just like marinating, where they were plotting the next move, where they were, in the lab cooking up something new. We don't give ourselves that time, though. Think about that, Blue.
No, we really don't.
Just keep moving.
Blue, you just keep moving, right? You just be pushing through. No. You need your moment, Blue. You need your moment, Olivia. You need your moment, Kiss the DJ. You need your moment, DJ MoMA. My babies, because y'all are my babies. Like, y'all are grown now, but, I've known y'all since y'all were in your 20s.
Yeah.
And so I look at y'all and I'm like, they're doing so well. I hope they know how well they're doing. Because I know that, I always say this, a comparison is the thief of joy. That's actually not my quote. It's a famous quote from someone else, but I always say it.
Yes.
But, comparison is a thief of joy. And so when you're on social media and you're looking at all of this stuff and then you start to feel like less than, I want you to know, no. That ain't the story. That's a trick. That's trickery. And you got to take your time.
And it's beautiful when you have Bevy telling that to Olivia in a space like this, right? Yes. And I think that's what's needed, right? It's for the people that have become legendary to give that feedback to people, right? To keep everyone moving. And I mean, it's so honorable of how you've been able to reinvent yourself time and time again, right? And I think that's important in itself because there's no age limits on that or anything for you to say when you decide to do TV.
Ever.
Like people think that you have time spans of just where you can't do something anymore. And it's like, that's not true.
And the book gets published at 54. I do my first acting gig at 54.
Come on.
It gets greater later. That's my number one revelation. It gets greater later.
Tina Turner is always my go-to when it comes to that. It gets greater later. Like
Tina Turner, Patti LaBelle, these are all women that did not become big stars until they were in their 40s. People don't really look at that. Like they just think about, if you look at Patti, you're like, if you're your age, you're like, oh, she's always been a big star. Well, that's because when she became a big pop star, it was in the 80s. But Patti LaBelle, for me, I know Patti LaBelle from the 70s and LaBelle.
The Bluebells, right? As a group, right?
Yeah, well, that was the 60s. Patti LaBelle been around that long. Patti LaBelle was doing Patti LaBelle and the Bluebells in the 60s. She becomes LaBelle in the 70s. She becomes Patti LaBelle from all the, Beverly Hills Cop soundtracks and On My Own with Michael McDonald in the 80s. And now, in our 2000s, she's Patti LaBelle, culinary type. Yeah. Making all the money off of the cooking and all of that stuff and the pies.
Reinvention.
Yeah. But you need time. You need a little downtime to reinvent. Can't just be running.
But see, time is scary. And I think one of the things that I've heard you say a lot, and I got to bring it up because it's so funny to me, but I kept hearing you talk about salmon croquets in a lot of places. So I think people have that fear, right? It's like, can you survive those moments?
Well, people are afraid to lose their money, right?
Yes.
People are afraid to lose their creature comforts. I'll tell you this. In my book, the chapter that you're referring to with salmon croquettes is Broke but Blissful. And I talk about going from making $350,000 a year at Rolling Stone to making $35,000 a year when I'm trying to get on TV.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I was so very happy doing that. Even going to housing court, even, having to take the bus after only taking black cars. There was no such thing as Uber back then. Right? Those black cars are bust. And, I had a very extravagant lifestyle. But it was a lifestyle that was no longer making me happy. So who cares how fucking fabulous it looked to the outside? Inside, it felt very hollow.
Yes.
So then when I quit and I started doing all the work that I really loved, writing for magazines and being on TV, like Olivia was saying, she would see me on VH1 doing all those pop culture shows and all that kind of stuff. That stuff was making me happy. It wasn't paying me though.
Right.
I wasn't making no money. I was making, you know, they was giving a girl a hot $50 or something. You know what I mean? I wrote the Rihanna cover story. I think I got, for Paper Magazine, I think I got paid $500 for that. It's Rihanna's cover story. Yeah. I think I got paid $500 for that.
Wow.
So yeah, but I was fulfilled.
Yes.
I just wasn't making any money. And, you know, the rubber hit the road. You know, when you got an eviction notice, that's a real thing. When you don't have money to really like eat whatever it is that you want to eat, that's rubber hitting the road. But the thing that I realized is that even in those moments, I knew this too shall pass. I always knew that I was sacrificing creature comforts for doing work that fueled me, that fed my soul and my spirit. And I knew that trouble don't last always. I knew that it was going to change. It was going to shift. Yeah. And certainly it did. And then through being broke, I created Dinner with Bevy. And through Dinner with Bevy, that's the reason why I have so many great relationships with so many big stars. I met Kerry Washington through a Dinner with Bevy because I hosted her a Dinner with Bevy for her. You know, I did a Dinner with Bevy for Pharrell where Charlize Theron attended and Chelsea Handler and all these other people. Wow. And, you know, I did a dinner for Idris Elba, you know, and so that means that when I go and do all my TV stuff, I have relationships. With my radio show, Bevelations, I have relationships because people know me as a host of a dinner party, and now I'm a host of a TV show. I'm a host of a radio show. Yes. And so that spirit of love and kind of familial connection is there when I interview folks. Like I just had Jay Ellis on my show yesterday, and you know, he just was like, I just love you, Bev. He's like, I just want to put you in my pocket because every time I come on your show, just light me up because you put the battery in my back. It just feels good to talk to you.
Yes.
Right.
You know, but I get that that's a Dinner with Bevy situation. You know what I mean? But I don't create Dinner with Bevy if I don't go broke. Because if I don't go broke, I don't need to create Dinner with Bevy.
There's no hunger for it.
Right. There's no motivation. There's no innovation. There's no, I need to do this.
You would have been in a black car just hustling.
Right.
I would have been in a black car just doing shit that I don't love. And it's making money and being a misery. And I could have never looked at Olivia and said kind words to her. Yes. Or kids or any of them. Because when you are an older, miserable bitch, you do not have kind words for the young girls because you're like, you're looking at them and you're thinking, why not me? They're looking at you and thinking, this is the ghost of Christmas past. You know what I'm saying? I squandered it. I fucked it up. Look at her shining. Why the fuck does she get to shine? I should be shining like that. And that's because I did not stay in that space of making a lot of money and being a misery, I have a nice life now, and I can be gracious towards all the young girls. I love y'all. I don't hate y'all. I love y'all. I want y'all to win. Yeah. Anything I got, you got.
You can either reinvent or hate.
That's it.
You can either reinvent or hate.
I want to ask you, like, who's out there that reminds you of you, like now, that's moving, that should just like.
I don't know nobody.
No, I mean, it's so many of y'all. I mean, it is Olivia, it's Scotty Beam, it's my baby, but Gia Peppers, it's so many. It's my baby Danielle.
Okay, Danielle. Okay, like Danielle's a big personality, and she just.
But it's all of y'all though. It's all of y'all. It's Gia. It's Scotty. It's you. It's Danielle. It's a bunch of y'all babies that I'm like looking at y'all and I'm like, yes, go, keep going, run, hit it, do it. I love the way y'all move. I love what you're bringing to the culture. I love the platforms that you guys are standing on. I just worry that y'all feel like you're not doing enough. And so I think I am going to do a life revision for my baby.
Yes, please, because I can honestly say, like, just thinking about all of the interactions that I've had with every person that you've named, I've seen that in their face, whether they said it or not. I've seen it in their face where they say or feel they're not doing enough. So it's important to have that conversation. So, and the crazy thing is, they're all creating their own lanes, and we're all intertwining within these lanes and still having enough space for everybody to grow. So for us to really be thinking that it's the internet, it's Instagram got everybody all messed up in the head. Yeah,
it's true. But you can fight that.
Yeah,
you can fight that, and you got to keep your squad close. Like you know, y'all got to put, like, if there's any kind of like. And there's always going to be an inkling of why I get that. I'm not going to tell you that there's not going to be that inkling.
Well, yeah.
Sometimes as a elderly woman, I see one of y'all get something. I'll be like, well, why they ain't going me for that? And it's like, girl, go sit down somewhere. Why they ain't going you? Because you ain't got next no more. You there. So let them have it. They got next. You know what I'm saying? Like, go sit down. So I can only imagine within your own space, there's that little, but then you gotta have your moment, shut it down, and then call your girl or text your girl and be like, I just saw you got X, Y, and Z. Fucking congratulations. And I want everyone that's listening to this to remember this. Please do that. It's not only good for them, it's good for you.
Right.
Yes, for your own soul.
Please do that. For your own spirit, for your own soul, for your own wholeness. And also, when you do that kind of work, that begets more goodwill for you.
Right.
And people don't forget that. People remember that you picked up the phone and said, oh my gosh, I'm so happy for you. You go, girl, or whatever it was.
It stays
or
with
that you texted. People don't forget. So it's nice to give a little heart on the Instagram. But a little text or phone call. I know y'all don't like to talk on the phone, but if you text them, that goes a long way. I'm I can call y'all because I got auntie status, so I can pick up the phone and be like. But I know y'all don't like to talk to each other.
I ain't even gonna lie. Like you said, it kind of clears your own soul when you do those things. And then sometimes there's still that fear that people have of reciprocity, right? You kind of give that off to people and they don't necessarily give it back. But hey, sometimes you just got to give it. So it's all for you.
Yeah. I mean, I don't even know. I don't really experience that as much. I did just do a post about how some of my friends literally did not buy my book. And I said, now, either familiarity breeds contempt, or people were like, well, she's everywhere with the book, so she don't, that's good.
I shouldn't need my dollars.
A weird thing that happens with that.
It's so weird. And to be honest, even with this show that we've been doing now, going into a season 2, I went into season 1 not depending on friends and family, right? I wanted everyone out there, out in the rest of the world to listen first and hear it and feel and understand what we're doing. And if you guys listen, you know me, cool. But if not, no pressure.
Yeah. Yeah, well, they should still post it.
Yes. That's the least. That's free. That is free. Repost. Yes.
Oh. And okay, I gotta go, guys. I'm way over my time. I love y'all though. This was so good.
We really appreciate
you for sure.
And I mean, with Blue Dope, it's all about each one teach one. We all move forward. So you taught a lot today. We appreciate the gems.
Thank you, baby.
Oh no, I love being here with you guys. It was so great hanging out. I love your spirit, Lou. I got to meet you and
yes, for sure,
and
1,000%,
and have that real connection. Olivia, I'm proud of you, baby. Yeah. I can't wait to see you again. Keep being the amazing woman that you are, that you were meant to be. And you can always call me if you are feeling a little off kilter.
Oh, for sure. That's happening this week then. Okay, cool.
Okay. Call me, okay?
Will do.
I love you. Bye, guys.
Peace, Bev. Blue Dope. I think Bevy did not fail us.
At all.
She gave us all that and then some. She said she wasn't going to get into the book, but we got some excerpts.
She can have it.
Yeah.
Because it's not only just about the book. This is her life.
Yes.
This is what she's lived and experienced. And you can tell she's one of those people that isn't afraid to share because she knows the power that's in it to help inspire others.
Yeah. Nah, I thought it was dope how she just even gave you the shout out, because I don't know if you even recognize your own greatness at some points.
Sometimes I don't.
Yeah.
I'll be very honest. Sometimes I don't. Before we even came here, I was just like, oh, man,
yeah, you walked in a little down.
I'm feeling funky, like
and then she had to remind you, yo, you was at Sundance, B. HBO. Like,
and the funny thing is, that's where I met Prentice. So that was my first time. Yes. So that was my first time at Sundance. When I got there, I think I was setting up something with the equipment. I had to like go do like a run through. And Bevy she was there with the marketing exec from HBO. They're just having a kiki and stuff like that. She's like, Olivia, come pumpkin, come babe. Okay, so come meet. And she just, same way she spoke me up. Alignment. And it's funny how that conversation that she had in front of me about me, I was just like, wow, okay, I am at Sundance. Because she's the same way she said it.
She said it right in front.
She said it. She's like, this is your first time at Sundance. Like, this is a big deal. Take it all in.
Utilize this moment. Leverage it.
And that moment made me be like, okay, not only, okay, fine, I'm going to DJ for HBO's pop-up, but I'm going to make use of the time here and just really explore and meet people and make sure that I'm making the connections I need to out here. And that's how I ended up going to a writer's workshop.
In the room with Prentice.
And I met Prentice.
Nice.
And I just like, yeah, I'm DJing, but I just want to.
I'm going to hijack this moment because I'm from Brooklyn.
I want to learn. I want to learn. Yeah. I mean, why not?
You have to when you're in the room with legends.
Yeah.
Because whatever they say is so valuable.
Why not? I'm here for free.
Yes.
HBO flew me out to Salt Lake for free.
$3.99.
Why wouldn't I?
Yeah. Free game.
I'm going to just come here and party? Hell no. I'm going to come learn something.
Yeah.
I sat with a bunch of upcoming writers, producers.
Who knows who's going to be who next at the end of the day?
There was a couple of them when they were like, well, what do you do? I'm like, I'm the DJ. They're like,
why are you in the room with us? She's going to try to take one of our jobs.
I appreciated that people like Bevy and people like Prentice took me seriously. Yeah. She's saying she's a DJ, but clearly
she's trying to learn.
Yeah.
And it's because someone like Bevy could appreciate that, because when she was working on the Vibe sales team selling ads, she had aspirations for other joints.
Right.
And she could respect aspirations in other areas. And she's not a hater.
She's not a hater. And she said it herself. When you want to do next, you say to everybody.
Yeah.
And I did that day. I told, it's like, hey, I'm the DJ here, but I want to learn about, I write and I want to learn, and I want to get into film at some point.
You got to put it in the air.
Put it in the atmosphere. You tell the dog.
She told her 7-year-old nephew.
She told her 7-year-old nephew.
He might grow up and have a bag where he could fund the whole project.
Fund Auntie Bevy's project.
Yeah. I remember she told me when I was 7 that she needed this, and I'm just caking out.
When I was watching Paw Patrol.
Yes.
She told me, and I remembered.
Yeah, we're going to make the grown-up Paw Patrol now. That's what we're going to do. We're going to take my money, put Auntie Bevy in the show.
Paw Patrol lifestyle.
Don't give them no free ideas.
I won't.
But it's so funny because I think people have so many fears. It's all about fear, right? Because you put your things into the world and the atmosphere. And
some people get scared.
You got to fear the haters.
Right.
You got to fear the biters.
Right.
Right. Because you say, yo, I'm going to do this. And then someone's like, well, that's a great idea. Let me get to it first. Yeah, let me do it first. But you know what? At the end of the day, it's all about, there's going to be competition. There's going to be competition amongst peers. And there's enough room in the game for everyone to eat. And I think rap has always shown me that. Because if you could have X amount of artists out at one time with similar styles and everyone's platinum and multi-platinum and doing shows, and the festivals are an example of that, right? Yeah. How many of the artists are like each other, right? But they're all on that stage. They all get in the bag. So it's kind of like, it is what it is. You put it out into the air, and wherever it falls, it might just be a place to take it first.
Absolute alignment.
Alignment. Yeah.
Name this episode Bevy Smith alignment.
Just add that's your bevelation.
That is my bevelation. Auntie alignment.
Yes, Auntie alignment.
Auntie alignment. That's right.
That's gonna be. You're gonna have to tell Bev put that in like the new version of the book, like the remix version.
Do like the
Bevelations 2
extended version,
like a music album.
Yes,
like extended
the 12 inch
deluxe edition. Yes.
The 12-inch vinyl.
Yeah, deluxe.
Yes.
Cool. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you gonna call her?
I am gonna.
She told you to call her.
I'm gonna call her.
I'm gonna ask you how that call went because I'm trying to pick a game. Like everyone that you tell me the conversation you had. She gave me an invite to meet her too. I'm looking forward to that. And
no, we're gonna make that happen.
Yeah,
she's like the best energy to be around. Like she's awesome, and then she gonna rap all the hood nigga songs with you.
I'm ready. Like, I'm ready. Bar for bar.
Fun.
Yeah,
it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, we taking her to the Garden next time.
Yes,
that's what we doing.
Yeah, we gotta take her.
Yeah, yo, you know who was at the Garden?
Who?
Johnny Nunez all over the stage.
He sure was. I saw his Instagram last night.
My man was in the verses.
Yeah. Look at all the guests from Blue Dome.
Yeah, it's all connected. It's all love over here. So alignment. Y'all, I'm like in my head. I'm like, yo, Johnny. He can't hear me, but you know he's there. And I literally, I'm a post. I took video of him just to be like, yo, there go Johnny doing his thing. I want to be him. I want to do what he's doing. I want to be on stage with him taking pictures. So
see, look at you speaking it out into existence.
There you go.
There we go.
Now that's my plan. Like later on in life, like. Not even later. It might be maybe it's next year. Like that's what I want to do. I want to take pictures at basketball games. I want to take pictures at concerts, and that's you know, you got to share that. That's fun stuff.
It's beauty and storytelling.
Yeah. And pictures is a form of storytelling.
Absolutely.
That's it.
Come on, creators, create.
Yeah, creating.
Yeah.
Always fun.
Yes. Blue dope.
It's blue, baby.